Welcome to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be with everybody again this week. What a great week in Louisiana, man. The weather's great. It starts cold every day and then gets hot really quick. We got a great show today. Our first guest will be Jason Coffey. People are going to love this story. Played at Navy, started at linebacker, played at Catholic High in Baton Rouge with Warwick Dunn, Kevin Franklin, many great. They had 71 signees in 1992, but 90, Jason Coffey was a sophomore at Catholic High. Now his son, Wyatt Coffey, is a linebacker at Archbishop Hannan, and we've got him on the phone traveling the whole United States, basically the whole East Coast, Atlantic Coast area. They're talking about the schools. What a wonderful story for parents to be able to listen to this. This is actual real life stuff of a dad taking his kid all over the country, doing the right things. And the dad played for Navy, had a great career. We also have our head coach at Natchitoches Central High School, who was at Byrd High School, James Wilkerson, who's now one of the great young coaches in the state, was the head coach at St. Mary's a few years ago, and was the offensive coordinator. And Coach Brandon Rochelle, who's playing basketball now, he was a one-year guy in football, but he was offensive coordinator in 2015. We have much, much more, but we're going to go ahead and get into, in transition, and get in our talk with Jason Coffey.
It's time for Going Deep in Recruiting.
Yeah, Jace, we have a great guest today, a wonderful story. Jason Coffey played at Catholic High, your old high school.
Yeah, go Bears.
Now, there's some Catholic Highs all over the state. This is Catholic High of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Right. And he played for Dale Weiner. What's very interesting is Jason was on the first team with Dale Weiner's first year as a head coach at Catholic High. He was coached by him his first year there. Okay. And in 1990, they go to the state championship game. And I know the pain will come back. They lost to Ruston. Had a great team with Warwick Dunn and
that's
amazing.
Kevin Franklin. Warwick Dunn and Kevin Franklin. It was by like 40-something points to Ruston. But
Jason ended up going on to Navy and having a great career and started at linebacker for Navy, man. The Shipman. What a great school, Navy. But, Jason, you're calling us out of town. You're actually on the road with your son, and that's the other part of our interview, that Wyatt Coffey, you're going to be a senior coming up, 2021 class for the 220 season at Archbishop Hannan High School, a linebacker, could probably play some strong safety in the next level. But y'all are traveling the country to all these great academic colleges. I'm glad to have you on today.
Hey, Lee, it's great to be with you, bud. We're actually sitting in Annapolis today.
Yeah, Indianapolis, Indiana. And how cold is it right now? Is it 50s, 40s?
No, it's Annapolis, Maryland, and it was probably 42 degrees, something like that this morning.
Not too bad. Could be worse.
No, it's great, man. It's cool outside. The weather's nice. I was thinking about getting in a run this morning, but it's kind of frigid.
We're going to get to what schools that you and Wyatt have visited already on traveling the country and also today, but I want to go back. Let's pull the pages back to your career at Catholic High. What was your great memories playing for Dale Weiner and Catholic High and Kevin Franklin, Warwick Dunn, all those guys? What was it, turning the page back in 1990, 89, 88? What was it like playing for Dale?
Lee, that was a great time in my life. My dad coached me coming up through Pee Wee ball, like at Perkins Road Eagles, and we always played against the North Baton Rouge Rams. And so Kevin and Warwick were on the Rams, and I was on the Eagles. My dad had always said, hey, man, if you're going to play big ball, you're going to play with some big guys. And so he quit coaching me in the 8th grade, and he was looking for where he wanted me to go to school. And to be honest, Dale hadn't got to Catholic yet until my 8th grade year, and so Dad was thinking about me and Jeff Jenkins, which is you may remember Pete Jenkins.
Yeah,
his son and I. we were talking about commuting to John Curtis because there really wasn't a place that Dad had the academics and the athletics that were going to be sufficient for us. But right about that same time, Dale Weiner came to Catholic High School, and Brother Francis David was the principal of the school, great man. And there were about 10 kids, myself being one of them, that got into Catholic that were not part of the traditional Catholic feeder system. Mm-hmm. And Warwick was one of those. Kevin was one of those. A kid named Dyron Williams, who ended up playing basketball at Lee High School where he graduated. Good kid, just Catholic wasn't a fit for him. Man, Sid Edwards was our 8th and 9th grade coach, and I know you know Sid.
Oh, yeah, very well. Very well.
And we actually spoke the other day because just kind of recruiting and seeing how he's doing. He's doing really good at Central. But yeah, Sid was instrumental in getting us on the freshman and 8th grade team. And back then, you couldn't be on the varsity unless you were in the 10th grade or higher. Mm-hmm. And so you got a kid like Warwick Dunn, who's NFL All-American kind of guy. He's not even playing on the varsity.
That was just the rules. That was just the way it was back then.
That was just the rule. That's just what it was.
And your dad, I want to mention this. Your dad was very responsible. Me and you've talked about this. Very responsible for giving advice to a lot of young kids on their direction, especially Kevin Franklin.
He was, buddy. So as God would have it, Kevin's mom and Warwick's mom are both in heaven now. And but my dad was very instrumental in speaking to them, speaking love into them. It's mm-hmm. one of those where, hey, man, we want to give them – here's an opportunity that you can get an incredible education and you can go have big-time opportunities. And Dad was right. He was. He was not going to ever be a high school, college coach, anything like that. But he loved the game. He loved kids. And he went and talked to those parents and said, look, I'll help you figure out a way. Today is, I guess, he'd be a booster. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't any financial support or anything like that. It was more of a, let me put you in front of the right people.
Direction, advice, great advice for
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you one that we haven't talked about yet is Kevin Franklin rode his bike to Catholic High School because his mom had to work, and he couldn't for like 3 years. Coming up through 8th, 9th, and 10th grade, because he was not going to miss a practice, but his mom couldn't get him there, so he really did, man. I love those guys. And
Kevin rode his bike to school every day from home. 3 years, you said?
I know it was 8th, 9th, and 10th because none of us were driving.
Wow.
And then around 10th grade, having a car is not like it was. It's not like it is today. It was a big deal if you had a car back then.
Big time.
So I ended up my dad worked it out for me to be able to drive my sophomore year. So Warwick rode to school with me a few times. Kevin rode to school regularly, or we brought him home. And Sid Edwards brought guys home after school. It was just a family environment, it really was, man. And it was Catholic High kind of turning the corner. You mentioned earlier we went to the Dome our sophomore year, and so we're sophomores in 1990, and first time we've been on the varsity. And I know Warwick was starting at cornerback. Kevin was starting at tailback because Ryan Jumonville, who played who threw the javelin at Tennessee, great guy. I think he broke his leg, if my recollection, his senior year. Mm-hmm. And so, but yeah, we're in the Dome, and hey, man, the first time we went to the Dome, we got smashed by Ruston. It was Jason at 40s. I have to be honest, man. It was 52-10.
But it was the greatest high school team.
But it was a great experience.
But that was Jason. I didn't tell you this before, but that was the greatest high school collection of players ever. That Ruston team. I mean, they had Ramon Malcolm that went to Auburn, Rodney Young, signed with LSU, Charles Green went to Nebraska, Bobby Williams went to LSU. All four running backs went to the NFL. The quarterback, Brad Laird's now the head coach at Northwestern State College, friend of mine. Collection of players. Everybody but Michael Brooks was on that team, right? Everybody was on that team. But y'all did go to the Dome, and, that was a dream of a lot of kids, and that experience is something you can take for the rest of your life. I want to go ahead and talk about your experience going to Navy. And, back then recruiting's different than it is now. We talk about that. And, your son's going to be a senior this coming year at Archbishop Hannan. And but what was it like for you to go to Navy? Tell everybody about how you ended up at Navy and your story.
Absolutely, man. So coming out of my senior year, we had 7 guys that went D1. And I'll tell you, that's what I've preached to Wyatt all along is, man, you want good guys on your team. You want people on your team that are better than you.
Leaders.
Because when that happens, leaders, high moral people, obviously good athletes, but you want those people on your team because what happens is it draws attention to everybody else. And so I'm convinced I was one of those everybody else. And, I mean, I was real strong in high school, but I wasn't super fast. Wyatt was faster than me already. But having Warwick and Kevin on the same team and having coaches come look and come there, it's what got me official visits. And I don't know, today's world, man, as big as these kids are today, I'm not sure that I would have gotten a chance at a place like Navy. But, as it turned out, Mr. Pat Screen was a big influence on me getting there. His son, Tommy, was my best friend in high school, my class. And then his older brother, Jimmy, had gone to the Naval Academy and played wide receiver, punt returner, and had a great career. So he kind of picked out me from our group and said, look, I think you fit that mold. And my grandfather was a colonel in the Army, and so I had some military background, and he was a huge proponent of me going to Navy, and he was a big influence in my life. And so I go to Navy and kind of fast forward a little bit. My first year, the coaching staff, we have a losing season, and the coaching staff is replaced.
Right away.
Charlie Weatherby's right away. So my and as a freshman, you go in, through your plebe year. I mean, I dropped weight down to probably 190 pounds coming from 225 because of the plebe summer rigors that go on at Navy. So very few guys play as a freshman. We did have one guy, Sean Andrews, was an All-American who did play as a freshman, but the rest of us didn't see the field as freshmen. My sophomore year, I played all special teams, everything. It's my first year to travel. First game I played was in SMU in the Cotton Bowl. Blocked a kick in that game. We won the game, and it was big time, good times. But I didn't really see the field as a linebacker that year. And then ended up starting my junior and senior year. My junior year, we had an incredible season. Charlie Weatherby was in his second year as coach. Paul Johnson, which you remember that name, head coach at Georgia Tech. He was the offensive line coach when I played there. And Ken Niumatalolo was
what a genius.
I'm sorry, Paul. Yeah, I'm sorry. Paul Johnson was the offensive coordinator. Ken Niumatalolo was the O-line coach.
But those are two geniuses running the ball, huh, Jason? Those two guys.
Triple option, yeah.
Yeah, they know the triple. They know so many different ways to block the triple that if you plan for this, then they're going to do this. I mean, it was just there's a genius at it. And so we ended up winning the Aloha Bowl that year. We went 9-3. As fate would have it, we lost to Army that year. Army went to the Independence Bowl, and Navy went to the Aloha Bowl. So I think we got the better deal there.
Yeah, Hawaii, yeah.
And then my senior year, I was starting at outside linebacker, and we did not win the Commander-in-Chief trophy that year. We lost to Air Force 10-7. Defense held them to 3 points all day long. They blocked the punt and beat us 10-7. So, but we did get a win against Army that year. We actually smoked them. It was 39-7. So,
Charlie Weatherby ended up coaching in Louisiana for a few years. And then the late Pat Screen, I want to mention the viewers that might not know Pat. Pat was a legend at Jesuit High School. Still, they talked to him today about him being one of the best quarterbacks to ever come out of New Orleans. You mentioned Pat Screen earlier that helped you, but the late Pat Screen, former mayor of Baton Rouge. But for those younger listeners, but now you have a son, Jason, who I went and watched last year. Y'all played Mandeville. I came up from Baton Rouge and watched him, and he runs a 4.5 40. He's pushing 5'10". He's closing up on 200 pounds. He's put on some weight, and I'm going to brag on him. He power cleans 325 plus, which is not every day. He's stronger than you now, right?
Lee, I have to be honest. He is. I did a lot of Olympic weightlifting coming up, but if you look at pound for pound, Wyatt's actually passed me in high school, and he's much faster. So I did do 365 in high school for clean, but I was weighing 220. So his 325 at 195, somewhere around there, is well above me.
Very strong kid. Really hasn't even kicked in on his full potential yet. He's still the world's ahead for him in football, and can move up really fast his senior year coming up for 220. People get confused. It's going to be the 221 class.
This is going to be the 2020 season.
2020 season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Hannan's got a good team coming back. And you're on the road right now. We're going to get Wyatt on, not right now, but we're going to get him on to talk when me and Jason finished talking. But talk about the schools. We talked about you visited Liberty, which has Hugh Freeze as the head coach. Jerry Falwell started the school many years ago, and you had a chance to tour the campus with Jerry Falwell's son.
Actually, it was his brother.
Yeah.
So that's right. So the two, it's just another way that God works in our lives, man. Our pastor at First Baptist Covington, Jay Johnson, is real good friends with some people at Liberty, and so we ended up meeting with the co-founder, which is Dr. Elmer Towns, and Jerry Falwell's brother, Terry, was our tour guide for showing us around. So it is a dead period, so Wyatt wasn't able to see all the football facilities. Right. But they can communicate. So as it would be, Hugh Freeze reached out to him the next day and said, "Hey, we want you to come to a camp, and I've seen your film and this and that." So they can talk that way, but they can't meet in person. You know. So yeah, we started our trip. Wyatt's done real well academically as well, so we're looking at some higher academic institutions. We went to William & Mary on Monday. Great school. Coaches gave us the full round. Being that's a D1 AA, they're in spring ball and they're able to talk to us. So we went to practice, met all the coaches, went up in the locker room and that kind of stuff. And next day we visited Richmond, which is a rival of William & Mary.
Great program.
Great program, yeah. And love the campus is incredible. Really had a nice tour there. Wasn't able to get with the football staff. Their spring ball starts next week, and so it's one of those that they're all out right now. We just had to take advantage of this Mardi Gras time,
right?
When we had off to go around and visit. Wednesday was Liberty. Like I said, that's D1 ball. That's big time there, and Wyatt loved the Christian aspect of it as well. Like just the way the school is run. Mm-hmm. The high morals, they have their own med school there, which is what he's interested in, and then yesterday we went to Washington and Lee in Lexington, Virginia.
Great academic school.
And oh man, top notch. It's one of those where so the coach there, Nick Parada, he showed Wyatt around and put on the jersey, walk the field, do the whole deal, and they love Wyatt, and it's one of those. Wyatt needs to work a little bit on his ACT. He's currently got a 28.
He's close. He's close.
He's close. He's right there, and that's one I can't lie. His grandfather's pushing because he said, "Man, if you graduate from there, you can do anything." Those guys are at the top of the food chain.
And I want to mention, Wyatt has a 3.8 all his core and a 28 ACT, and once he hits that 30, which he will, he can go anywhere with a 30. And then also want to mention, and I don't know if you saw this, Jason, or if the Liberty people told you this, but ULM of Monroe plays Liberty week 4 in Monroe.
Oh, that's right. So we'll be at that game.
Be a good game to go to. Yeah. So
yeah, you're right.
Week 4, they're going to play the Warhawks. I'm used to saying, they changed the name 10 years ago, but it used to be the Indians. But ULM of Monroe in Monroe, Liberty. So Hugh Freeze taking on our state school. Man, this is going to be neat. And they play Syracuse in New York. That's another good game for them. I mean, wouldn't it be something if Liberty could upset Syracuse in the Carrier Dome?
Yeah, no, that would be sweet. You say New York. We went to Columbia this past season, saw a game there, and watched them play Harvard and did the locker room tour and all that. It was a good time, but New York City is a different place, man. For a Southern boy,
you get lost quick. Jason, want to go ahead and talk to Wyatt if Wyatt's there. I know he's there with you, and y'all are with your cell phone, and y'all are all over the place, but love to introduce Wyatt to everybody and get Wyatt on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me get him. 1 second.
Sure.
Hey, Mr. Lee, how's it going?
Hey, Wyatt, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. What do you? How does it feel traveling all over the East Coast and the Atlantic Coast, and what is it like for a young teenager from the Mandeville, Covington area? You go to Archbishop Hannan High School. I want to tell everybody your jersey number 34. So if they're watching, if you can't find a program, what's the experience been like to you to go to Washington Lee and Richmond and Liberty and some of these schools?
Man, all these schools are awesome. I'm just kind of getting a chance to tour them, and they're all super, super big, and it's kind of cold up here, but I like it. And, man, they're huge, and it's big-time ball, so I can't wait to get to that point.
What was it like growing up and knowing your dad played D1 ball at Navy, and you see all these Navy pictures of your dad, and I know you've been to Navy, and what's that been like for you as a kid to experience that?
Well, I mean, for me, myself, I've been wanting to play D1 ball since I was little, too. So I've been kind of seeing pictures of my dad and kind of chasing his numbers and stuff. And pound for pound, like you said, I've already beat him in high school, but I'm chasing his college numbers. And, yeah, I mean, it's been real good motivation for me to kind of keep pushing. And whenever I feel like giving up, just keep pushing so I can beat him.
That's not bad. Your dad's probably like, man, you got me. But what do you think you got a goal for this power clean? I mean, you're already at a crazy 325. Do you have like a number that you think you can hit? I mean, you're breaking records already doing that.
I'm going to go for 375 this year so I can beat my dad and Darius Geis. So.
Oh, Geis will hear this. He'll love that. I'm sure your dad's like, well, you're going to get me. What's your goals for your senior year coming up? Look, y'all have a tough schedule. I saw you play Mandeville. Mandeville's very tough, and y'all don't have any easy games in that district that Hannan plays in.
No, sir.
But what is your goals? Because sometimes they line you up like a DN. Sometimes you blitz. Sometimes you're back off as a linebacker. Sometimes you're at the mic or outside. You're all over the place, and you could even play some strong safety because you have a unique build and you can run a 4.5. But what do you think the main thing the team needs to work on to improve this year?
Well, we have a real strong class coming back of I think 26 people, and so they're all real good athletes. But for me this year, I'm focusing on tackles. I'm gonna try to get 100 tackles this year. I want to play both sides of the ball. I'm gonna play a little running back too.
Good.
Because before as my sophomore year, that was my main position, and then they needed an athlete at linebacker, so I filled in there.
Wyatt, I saw you play fullback, and you knocked a few people on their back blocking, man. I mean, that's where I see
love hitting people.
That's where I see the weight room. I mean, this guy's got that build, but Wyatt, I could see you having about 30 pancakes, just being like a slash running back slash fullback on offense. And I know y'all got Brantley back at quarterback. Got a lot of George's at back on the defensive end position to help you, and a lot of good looking players.
Mm-hmm.
O-line, y'all got a good line. O-line is going to average about 260, 255 probably.
Good bit coming back, yes sir.
Grades wise, you're almost at that 30 ACT, man. I mean, you're 2 points away, and any goals that you want to get over a 30?
Well, I'm gonna push for a 30 first, and then after that I'll probably hit for Washington and Lee, they want me to hit a 33, so that'll probably be my next benchmark.
Well, that's 14 points more than I ever got. That's I don't know, Jace. What did you get?
Oh, he got me beat by a mile. I got 21 on mine, so he already beat me by a mile.
And Wyatt, he went to your dad's high school, Catholic
High School.
Yeah,
yep.
In Baton Rouge. Tell us some other schools, Wyatt, that you and your dad are going to finish off before y'all go home. Are y'all going to do any more schools?
Well, we're going to Navy today. That'll be all the time. we're going to get a workout in today too. So at Navy, that's awesome. Just because we got some.
Oh man, that's pretty cool to work out in their weight room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you might, that's they got a pretty good weight room, and you're going to go in there and break records probably in front of those guys. I mean, I don't know how many of those guys are doing 325 on the power clean. That's not every day.
That's the goal. Hoping to turn some heads there, so that'll be good.
Shoot, even if you lift about 275 in front of them, they'll go, okay, all right. We got to come down to Covington this year. But Wyatt, good luck to your senior season. I know you and your dad are all over the place putting hundreds of miles on the vehicle, and I know the GPS is going to help you out. I know Navy, you don't need the GPS for Navy. Your dad knows where to go for that.
Oh, no, he knows all around. All around Navy.
Jason, glad to have Jason Coffey on, and then Wyatt Coffey. Look, again, good luck to you, man. I know you're ready to go, and guys, be safe getting back home to Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I appreciate it.
Okay. That was Wyatt Coffey, a linebacker, strong safety, Archbishop Hannan, class of 221, and his dad, Jason Coffey. We're going to come back in just a moment.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen. Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brecheen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brecheen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and get connected today.
It's time for our high school team of the week.
Yeah, great guest today. I always love bringing on high school coaches. I mean, I love football. I love high school athletics, love baseball, basketball. And traveling Louisiana, I've gotten to learn a lot about North Louisiana since 91. And I've been to a bunch of Bird games. That's where Coach James Wilkerson was last year, the new head coach of Natchitoches Central for 2020, football coach. Actually was the offensive coordinator at Natchitoches Central in 2015, and had a chance to coach Brandon Rochelle, the star basketball player for Tulsa, who was at LSU, and I still think he'd be a first-round pick receiver. I thought he was Randy Moss Part 2, but that's just me. But, Coach, glad to have you on all the way from Natchitoches, Louisiana. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for the time. I'm glad to be here.
Coach, you've had an interesting young career. I mean, you got to coach under Mike Suggs at Bird, who's one of the great coaches in the state, and big powerhouse 5A program in Shreveport. You were at Natchitoches Central, and you were also head coach, I think, at St. Mary's. Well, you like Natchitoches.
I do like Natchitoches. I went to Northwestern, and I started coaching when I was 19, so I was a sophomore in college at Northwestern at St. Mary's, and I was there for 6 years, and I married a girl that's from Natchitoches, so my family's still there. So we just always had a special place in our hearts for Natchitoches.
Well, so getting the head job at Natchitoches Central was a good fit and good for everybody, the whole family. You have 4 kids, man. Great for you. I mean, 4. You stay busy.
Yeah, I do stay busy. It's a lot of fun, and they're all so unique, and so they're happy to be going back to Natchitoches. Of course, being around their grandparents. Everyone's excited about the move.
Coach James Wilkerson hasn't been at the school long enough to probably even know the roster yet, but I watched the team last year, had some good players graduate. I just want to throw these names out just for the school and for the kids. Derek Payne was one of the top fullbacks in the state. I thought that graduated from the team last year's 5'11", like 260. Duran Robinson, a tight end, a big kid that graduated. Jalvin Burton. I wonder if that's Jesse Burton's family kin there. And then David DeMars. A lot of D linemen, I know, Coach, you have to replace, but a lot of good-looking young kids coming up.
Yeah, having to replace those guys is always tough. But, a lot of those kids gained a lot of experience last year. So that's, one thing we're excited about. And getting to see them firsthand, being at Bird last year, getting to see them firsthand, it was just something different about them. And being there for, almost a month now, I've gotten to notice that with them. They work hard. They want to do better. And so that was one of the things that drew me to the job was, Natchitoches has been, to put it truthfully, it's just been mediocre at best. And I think those kids they want better. And so I think it started last year. And so we're going to try to continue that and build on that. And so I'm excited about the kids we've got coming back. We have 86 right now that's coming out for spring football. So we're really excited.
James, I always tell people, they always ask me, they say, Lee, name some sleeping giant schools that are just closer than you think. And I always say Natchitoches Central is a sleeping giant. And I saw the numbers, and it just, as you know, you got to win a couple of years, you got to have a big year, and then it just starts to snowball. But what do you think of the potential of Natchitoches Central? I mean, y'all have a good enrollment. Like you said, y'all got numbers so close.
Yeah, I think we're really close. I think it's just getting in there and like you said, just creating a winning atmosphere and habits over and over again. We talk to the team every day about, being great is hard to do because that's not our human nature. And so being able to do that every day is what makes those teams that are really good, that's what they're able to do. And so I think we're close. We just got to get in there and do things day in and day out and teach these kids how to do that. I've always had a lot of respect for Natchitoches Central, all the athletes they have. I mean, when you look across the field, when, I've coached against them, and just been around them, you look at them and you're like, wow, these kids, they do some spectacular things. I mean, I got so many football players that are on the track team, and they're, you see their times or how far they jump and you're like, and these kids. So I think we're close. I think, the administration I have is behind us. They've given me a lot of support since I've been there. The kids have really bought into our off-season program. So, I think everybody involved, coaches, players, administration, support personnel, I think they all want better. And I think they know where it can go. And so that was kind of my vision as I went through the interview process of where I think Natchitoches Central can go. And I really think that with that town and all the feeder schools into it, the sky's the limit, for Natchitoches Central.
And, I didn't even know this. I knew Joe Dumars played at McNeese, and I knew Joe Dumars was a superstar for the Detroit Pistons, one of the greatest ever to play for the Detroit Pistons. He's a graduate of Natchitoches Central, man, one of the greatest. And, I got to say McNeese real quietly because Northwestern State, that's their rival. That's their old
rival, yeah.
And I've got to mention this again. I'm just throwing out great names that graduated from Natchitoches Central, but Jesse Burton was a great running back. He went to McNeese. He scored 6 touchdowns, like you said, Coach, in one game in college.
Yeah, I still remember that being a big deal. So there's been a long line of, there's a great history there in Natchitoches Central. So, hopefully we can add to some of that history.
And I want to mention this. I know that the basketball programs at Natchitoches Central are phenomenal, girls and boys.
Yeah.
Coach, have you went in there yet and talked to some of those 6'4", 6'5" guys saying football is good with basketball? They work together, right?
Yeah, they really do. And one of our better returning players, an all-district performer last year, Jaden Hare, the starter on the basketball team. He dominates the basketball court just the same way he did last year on the football field. I mean, he had 12 sacks, last year. And so Coach Coleman and Coach Jones, the girls coach, did a great job. I mean, they just won, last night, to make it back to the Sweet 16. So, and Coach Coleman, of course, has done a great job. Me and him have known each other since our childhood. We actually grew up about 15 minutes apart from each other. So I've talked to him and kind of, gotten his advice because he's created such a winning program there in Natchitoches. And so I think me and him will work well together. And, I want all my football players to play other sports. I think it's better for them. I think it works different muscles. It teaches them, just different, techniques and different things. So hopefully we can get in there and kind of, work together to create just a comprehensive winning program for all the sports.
And maybe Jaden could get about 18, 20 sacks this year. That would help a lot.
Yeah, that'd be real nice. I think we'd be doing well if he does that.
Definitely got to replace 3 or 4 guys in the inside, but you do have Jaden coming back at 6'5". Also, Furman Walker, DN, about 6'3", so you got a couple of really good bookends. You just got to get that experience in the inside. You got some young guys, good O-line, a lot of young quarterbacks competing, and tough district, Coach. It's not easy in 5A.
It's not. No, it's definitely not. And having such a big district, I mean, you've got to be. You play 7 district games. I mean, you've got to be, ready to go each week. And so, again, that's what we're talking to our team about is day in and day out. We've got to do the right things. And, our district is tough. There's so many good teams and good athletes that are in District 1 5A, and of course, with us having to replace a few, I think we've got some good kids coming up. We've gotten some size, which has been big for us. We had a student move in that we think probably end up being our nose guard. He's about 340 pounds.
Oh, that's good.
But can move. I mean, just a really good kid that works hard. We've got another kid that to come back out and play. It's probably our strongest kid. He's about 6'1", 250. But we just did our maxes, and he squatted 455. Is
that Juan Nanez? Is that Juan?
Yeah, that's Juan Nanez, and he's just wanted to come back out. He come and talked to me one of my first days on the job, and he said, "Coach, I really want to play football." And so we've gotten him in there, and it's been fun watching them work out. And offensive line wise, I think we're going to be pretty good. We've got some strength up at the front, some good kids that are smart. So we're, we start to implement a new offense. That's going to be a big help to us.
Coach, I also want to mention this. It's not every day a high school is on campus of a college, basically. And tell everybody where you play your games. It's like the Taj Mahal. Y'all get to use that Northwestern State football field.
Yeah, we get to play our games at Turpin Stadium, and which and I was the head coach at St. Mary's. I always enjoyed that. I think it's fun for the kids and fun for the kind of the excitement in the environment. So we love Northwestern. Like I said, I'm an alumni of there, so it's always special to me to get to go back, and I look forward to just being in Natchitoches all the time, so I can start going to all the football games and basketball games, and so it's fun. I think it's really fun to have that opportunity, to play there.
And James, it's not going to be the same without Doug Ireland as the sports information director at Northwestern, huh? After 30 plus years.
Yeah, and I've got a special place for Mr. Doug. He kind of took me under his wing when I was in college. He actually gave me a place to live for a little while.
Okay.
While I was in college, so me and him have a special relationship. He's always been someone I kind of went to for advice, and I know people miss him around there. He was a special guy for Northwestern.
I know you can see him at the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, though. He's doing a little work with them, and also I think he's still involved with Northwestern. He's just not working 80 hours a week anymore for Northwestern. So
yeah, he's cut it back a little bit.
You might find him on that lake over there in Natchitoches sometimes, relaxing. He deserves it. Yeah, he deserves it, man.
Oh, yeah.
But James, good luck to you this year, and hang on, don't hang up, and we'll really think, and also we're rooting for Northwestern State to go to the playoffs again, and Natchitoches Central to get to the playoffs this coming season.
Well, thank you.
All right, Coach. That was James Wilkerson, the head football coach, Natchitoches Central. We're going to be right back.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Make sure to tune in this week to Louisiana Football TV Magazine as host Lee Brecheen brings on big-time guests, recruits, coaches, you name it. You can catch the show on Yearview, Channel 4 in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Lafayette, CW21 in Shreveport-Bossier City area, CBS in Lake Charles, ETEL in Ascension, and ETEL Vision in Houma, Lafourche. Check your area for local listings. This week in the NFL.
We're going to talk about the NFL Combine, Jace, even though it's going on as we speak. You know, I've never really missed an NFL draft. I remember watching the first NFL draft in 1985 or something like that. Yeah. 84, probably maybe 83.
On the ESPN.
When Mel Kiper was on there.
Chris
and
Berman
Chris Berman was doing it, and it was different. Now you have it at a big city. They got a big party outside.
And I don't know if you heard, Lee, they're doing it in Las Vegas, and they're doing it on the
Trouble.
Bellagio fountains.
Trouble.
They're doing it on the fountains.
Trouble.
Yeah.
We got a casino and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, Vegas is a great place. They're obviously going to get a lot of California people because, you know, you can go from L.A. to Vegas on a plane, Jason, 30 minutes or less.
Oh, yeah.
So just with the people from Los Angeles, they're going to be packed. There's going to be thousands and thousands on. They're probably going to have those stages and all that outside. And
my favorite one so far is when they went to Nashville. And
Nashville's
was pretty neat.
Great town.
That was pretty neat.
Nashville's super, man. I'm that and Austin I like to visit, but Nashville's probably my favorite city to go visit outside Louisiana, besides Boston, Massachusetts. But let's go ahead and get into the Combine. I'm going to throw my 2 cents out. I've been, you know, scouting and watching guys since 91, actually prior to that all my life, you know. And let's go with the LSU guys first. We're going to talk about all the Louisiana guys. I know that you also went and got a bunch of stuff on our Louisiana natives that played at other schools that we've watched. But Joe Burrow, obviously the first pick. I don't want to spend too much time on everybody. We're just going to I'm going to go through them. Joe Burrow, first pick. I think he's going to be great. I don't think it's bad. I am one of the few. Everybody likes to agree on, Cincinnati's horrible. Let me tell you something. Buffalo was horrible, okay, for 10 years. Buffalo made the playoffs this year with a young quarterback. You can get a team ready with free agency and a draft really quick. I think the Browns are close, as much as I pick on the Browns being the worst team in the league prior to Jarvis.
That's why there is free agency,
right.
So it can be a balancing.
But I think too many people agree. They just like to agree on, Cincinnati will never be good. Look, Marvin Lewis went to the playoffs like 10 times, okay?
Yeah. And this is just recently. They just haven't been able to win the playoff game.
They've been down for like 3 years. That's it. Just 3 years. That's shorter than Buffalo. That's shorter than Cleveland's 25 years of nothing, okay? I mean, you got to go back to Cleveland and Ernest Biner before you were born,
Bernie
Jace.
Kosar.
Yeah. Paul McDonald. No, Kosar, he did okay, but go back to way back when Nick Saban was like a DB coach for Cleveland, okay? And they had a guy named Sam Rutigliano was the head coach. And they lost to Denver, I'll never forget, in the early 80s, and John Elway beat them.
Yeah, that was Bernie Kosar.
In a snow game, and that just destroyed Cleveland, man. Cleveland could have been Denver if they were won
and
that
Ernest
game.
Biner had that fumble, too.
Right.
Yep.
You don't want to talk about this in Cleveland. I think we would probably we'd need a police escort to get out of a building. But
had some bad luck.
But Joe Burrow will be great. If you put Joe Burrow in Toronto in the Canadian Football League, the Argonauts, he'll throw for 5,000 yards. I really believe he has something that not a lot of people have. Everybody's talked about it for days. He can pick you apart. He knows the game. He is a coach on the field, and he has an arm, and he can run.
He has the toughness like a linebacker.
Oh, my God. And look, Jamar Chase was great and will be great in the NFL. If there was an NFL-ready true junior draft, Jamar's a first-rounder this year. And also
Derek Stingley could be a first-rounder.
Terrace Marshall could go in the draft this year. I still think he's going to be phenomenal this coming year. I think he's going to take up the slack for Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, he had a couple injury problems, too,
Yeah,
which is,
right.
could be scary.
But Joe Burrow will be, barring injuries, will be a phenomenal quarterback. He's going to be the representative of LSU in the NFL. He's going to be a Brady type. I really do believe that. It's not just the great 1 year and it was a system. I don't believe all that. He's not a system guy. They just gave him a system that he could flourish in. Without Joe, LSU 8-4, maybe 9-3. Yeah. I'm thinking maybe 9-4 with that schedule, 8-4. So Joe goes to Cincinnati. I think he's going to, now the first year, just like John Elway or Dan Marino or any of these guys, the first year or two, It's going to be an adjustment, just like Peyton Manning. The Colts didn't win a Super Bowl his first year or two, so it's going to take a couple of years. And I think they're going to start him right away. Maybe a couple of games into the season, maybe let him just watch a couple. But I think Joe's ready.
Yeah.
They'll go pick up some wideouts. They'll get some guys in the draft. They'll return some. Look, he's going to bring energy to that city. And let's Cavalion Chasson from North Shore High School is the most athletic DN in the draft. He's a go-between 250-pound, 255, 6'3". A lot of your ends, Jason, the 3-4 in NFL weigh 280.
Mm-hmm.
But he can play outside linebacker for a 4-3 team. And the Ravens, the Falcons, a lot of these teams love Chasson. So I think he goes in the first 16 picks, without a doubt. Might be even higher. Lloyd Cushenberry might not go in the first round. I think he's a second, third rounder, but he'll be a starter in the league at some point.
He's probably going to be the first center taken anyway.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, he ran a good 40 time. He's a smart kid. He's almost 6'4", 310. I think his smarts, his technique, he's going to be a starter in the NFL.
He got some long arms, too.
Sadiq Charles is going to probably go to his natural position, guard. He was a tackle at LSU because that's where LSU needed him. Sadiq is going to be a phenomenal guard. But to play tackle and to do what he did at tackle, and he was undersized, when you're 285 to 300, you're not big playing tackle in the SEC, but he was so athletic. He will be a starter. Now, I'm very interested to see where Sadiq will go, because when they don't talk about you and you're athletic, nobody wants to share a sleeper, those GMs. And so he could be a second, third round pick. Grant Delpit, I don't know why they're picking on Grant Delpit's tackling. I mean, when he was healthy, he's a great tackler.
Yeah, I know the ankle injury frustrated him a little bit.
I think that's more the media.
Yeah.
But if Grant runs well at LSU and he does everything that he needs to do, his tape when he was healthy, he won the Thorpe Award based on his sophomore year.
Yeah, based off his a career achievement.
But Grant's a starting free safety in the league. He measured at 213. I thought he was like 190. He carries his weight so good. But he's a very lean 213, 6'2", and some change. Delpit will be a starter. And I still think he goes late in the first round. I really do. Michael Divinity would be a steal in round 3 or 4. Missed his whole senior year. People go, well, the suspensions hurt him. No, he came back. He persevered. He did what he was supposed to do, right? He took care of business. So he's on good terms with Ed Orgeron and his teammates. He's a good kid. He's 245. He's a little under 6'2". Great middle linebacker. He can run. Look, when he was healthy, he was a 14-sack guy.
He was actually the best pass rusher on LSU's team.
Yeah, Divinity will start in the NFL. Now, he might go in the 3rd, 4th round, but he'll be look, the Saints could get him in the 4th or 5th. He's a steal. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, look, I think he's first-round ability, but he won't go in the first round because a lot of running backs don't go in the first round, but he'll definitely be a second-round pick, I think.
And it's a deep running back class as well. Because
I just hope Clyde goes to a winning team. Because if it's a losing team, that means he runs too much with no blocking. If he goes to a winning team, he can transition in. But Clyde is Clyde's going. You went to school with Clyde.
Yeah.
Clyde's going to do what he's got to do to be successful, right, Jace?
Yeah. He's a great kid. It's definitely not on what he does off the field, because he gets the job done. He's a good kid, good head on the shoulders, and that part will be reliable when he goes to the NFL. He's
going to make it because he's going to take care of business. And then, your deep snapper, long snapper, however you want to call it, Blake Ferguson, he's a starter, but it's really weird because sometimes you don't get drafted if you're a deep snapper. So, Blake's got a shot to go like round 7 to a winning team.
There's a good shot because I think a couple of teams have interviewed with him and talked with him.
But the thing is, what they do in the draft is that they'll call you during the draft if you don't go in the first 4 rounds and go, look, do I want this team to draft me that really doesn't need a deep snapper? Or do I want to not get drafted and go where I could start?
Yeah.
So he might turn down being drafted to go to a place where he can win the job.
Yep.
That goes on. And then Christian Fulton, first-round pick, man. He didn't give up much and was always had some injuries, fought through them. Fulton's a phenomenal shutdown corner, and he's a big physical guy, about 200 pounds. I'm interested to see how high he goes. Like, does he go in the top 15? Because corners are hard to find that are 6 foot, 200 and can run and will guard you and press. Justin Jefferson, if he doesn't go in the first round, it's a crime. Justin Jefferson had a phenomenal junior year. He's not a senior, he's junior. But Justin got everything.
He's probably the best route runner of the receivers in this class.
But there's one problem, Jace. Receivers don't notoriously go in the first round, and not many go in the first round. So I don't see more than 3 going in the first round. And there's 4 or 5 that could go in the first round.
Yeah, it's very deep this year, the whole receiver class. Ruggs, Judy, Robinson from USC.
I'm going to make a prediction to you, though.
I mean, Pittman, not Robinson.
It wouldn't shock me if he goes before Ruggs and Judy because he's bigger. Size matters and trumps in the draft. He's almost 6'2". I just think he trumps those guys in size. I think he's better than those. Now, those guys are great players. And one ran a 4.21 the other day.
Yeah, I know Ruggs ran a 4.27 or 4.28. Yeah,
and Judy ran a 4.45. I thought he would be faster.
And I know a lot of hype's been going around with Notre Dame's big receiver because he
Claypool.
Claypool.
He's a freak.
Combine, yeah.
He's a freak, and he's 6'5". Really, if you look at it, Justin Jefferson, for weighing 201 pounds, had the fastest 40 for any receiver.
Yeah, ran a 4.42. I mean, that's
considering
impressive.
he's 201 pounds, the rest of those guys weighed 190, 180. Like Judy's 185. Ruggs is like 185. But to be 201 and run a 4.41, 4.44, I mean, man, that's smoking.
Yeah, he just kind of glides. It seems like he just looks so natural. He just kind of glides down the field. It doesn't even look like it's 4.3.
I told people when Justin was at Destrehan, and I read all these articles, and I just kind of laugh. People say, oh, well, he was a late find. No, he qualified after signing day. That's the only reason LSU was able to get him. It was meant to be. Plus, his brothers went to LSU, and he waited.
That helps, yeah.
But if he would have been qualified before signing day, he had a bunch of D1 opportunities. I watched this kid play 3 times, and I watched him take a punt back 80 yards, and that really sold me on everything he could do, the way he did it, the way he caught the ball, and the way he glided in high school, Jace. He weighed about 170, but he looked just like he does now.
Yeah, it just kind of glides. It looks
so natural.
Everything else in slow motion to him.
Justin Jefferson was born to play in the NFL.
Maybe that was a blessing in disguise with the grades.
Yeah,
and everything.
If he's qualified, he's not waiting.
Mm-hmm.
LSU and then LSU had a scholarship. You know what? That had to be the stars align because you don't always have a scholarship after signing day, and that's when Ed was transitioning into the job. I think it might have been Les's last. That was in that transition.
Yeah.
Rashard Lawrence, D tackle. I love the kid from Neville. He's fought ankle injuries his whole career. He helped LSU win Alabama game this year. I thought he stepped up against Bama and dominated Alabama. He had some key plays in that first half that changed the Alabama game. He pushed the O-line in the backfield, caused some fumbles. Rashard Lawrence, if you dig deep on his character, which is phenomenal, he never really got a chance to play a full year. He's got an unbelievable high ceiling as a D tackle or DN at 305, 6'2", and he's a great person. Richard, if he goes round 2, which he could, because he's going to smoke the interviews, he will be a starter for 10, 12 years, Jace. He was MVP of the Fiesta Bowl the year before for LSU, and he missed most of that year.
And they needed him because they had all those injuries. Yeah, they needed him to step up.
Leadership goes a long way with talent too. But his leadership is a guy, those GMs are going to, so they fell in love with him this week. If he goes round 2, which I think he can, I think he's a Kyle Williams type of guy that's just going to stick around and be tough and be a great player. He could go late in the first round if somebody loves him. They're not talking about it. And if he falls to the 3rd round, 4th round, again, he's a starter. Damian Lewis, not a lot of people are talking about him in the combine.
Kind of on the radar a little bit.
But if I'm a GM and I need a guard that can pull that's 310, 320, that's stronger than he's so strong, and he's a mauler. I think he's Trey Turner, but not as tall, from LSU that's with the Carolina Panthers. But Damian Lewis, I think, is a first-rounder, but they're not going to take a 6'2" guy in the first round. but I think he's a franchise guy. And he'll probably go round 3 or 4. And I hope he ends up in Pittsburgh, my favorite team, because he's a mauler like those Pittsburgh. You ever watch those Pittsburgh O linemen? They're all like
Mike
bodybuilders.
Webster going back. Alan Faneca.
Damian Lewis would fit in with Pittsburgh because he is a mauler. He means business. He puts you on your back, and that's what the Steelers love, and the Ravens. I don't want to see him go on Atlanta or Carolina. And if anything, go to the Saints if you don't go to my Steelers. Thaddeus Moss having surgery again.
Yeah, he had a little setback yesterday.
But I still think Irv Smith had surgery too before the draft from Alabama, and it worked out, right? I think Thaddeus Moss is as good as Irv Smith. Didn't drop a ball. Great blocker. He's actually a combo, so he can block, he can catch, he can run routes, and his dad's famous, and his dad's an NFL guy with a lot of connections. So even though he's having surgery, he's going to recover fully from it for the rookie season. I think Thad's a first-round pick. And don't count it out late in the draft to a winning team that really doesn't need anything. If you don't need anything in your winning team late in the first, he could go to a winning team.
Wouldn't it be crazy if, let's just say Tom Brady stays with wherever he goes, and he goes to the team where Tom Brady plays, thinking that Tom Brady threw passes to his dad, Randy Moss, and he also threw it to his son, Thaddeus.
Be kind of crazy.
That'd be kind of crazy to think about, but it could happen.
Well, I mean, they say Brady might end up in Oakland. And then you saw
now Las Vegas.
And then Grugan said, well, we're going to keep our Carr at quarterback.
Derek Carr.
But I think he's on the fence.
I mean, it's a
you don't tell.
Year for free agency
You think Oakland will
quarterbacks.
tell Tom Brady no?
I mean, Las Vegas, because it's kind of weird. I know they just moved to Vegas.
But you don't think the Raiders would tell Tom Brady no? We don't want you.
I mean, if Tom Brady is invested in the Raiders, they're not going to turn him down.
Well, the only problem is Oakland. They don't need a tight end. They got Foster Moreau from LSU, a couple other guys.
Well, if he stays with the Patriots, then I can see that happening. Yeah, because I know that they need a tight end.
But Belichick never goes offense in the first, second round. It's always defense. He always free agents his running backs and his tight ends. So I'd love for it to happen, but I would really like to see Thad go to Pittsburgh or the Saints. Pitt loves the tight end. The Saints love the tight end.
I know the Saints got Jared Cook, but yeah, I mean,
Jared's getting up in age.
Yeah, he's getting up there a little bit.
But if Thad's up there in round 2, and you run the same offense as the Saints, I thought the Saints lacked tight end depth. I thought they lacked a second tight end. And Cook, as great as he is, he dropped a lot of great balls. He had like either great games or like awful games, Jacob Phillips is the one guy I thought should have came back as a junior linebacker. He's so big, sometimes he's too thick, so he's going to have to get his flexibility back in his hips. Even though he's a Mike linebacker, he's got to get that flexibility. Even though he led LSU in tackles. Now, if you're straight ahead, you're not getting out of Jacob's claws, but he struggles with outside.
Right.
And so Jacob should have came back. I wish he would have and just worked on that. Because he's 240, 245, 6'3".
And he was going to be the guy next year. So
but he's still making an NFL team. He still will get drafted. But he could have been a first-round pick if he had looser hips. And I know all the pro scouts would agree with me. But instead, he's going to go round 3, round 4, round 5. He could dip to round 6. Patrick Queen got a D1 grade, a first-round grade based on 3 games. Oklahoma game, Clemson game, and Georgia game.
That's the right time to show up and show your draft stock in those 3 crucial games.
So you can't blame Patrick Queen, the Livonia native, for going pro early as a junior. It crushed me because I'm like, oh, man, Jacob and Queen come back. But when somebody's, when you can go in the first round, all he has to do is run a 4.5, 4.6. They measured him.
Man, the NFL is in love with those guys.
They in love with hybrid linebackers.
Yeah, they're in love with those guys.
It's the new trend. If you're 6 foot, 6'1", run 4.5, 220.
Yep.
Because of the spread. the 4 wide,
right,
and the tight
with
end.
the way the game has evolved and changed.
I would love to see Queen go to a winning team, because you don't want to be a linebacker on a losing team. I mean, you just don't want to, because usually losing teams have bad D-lines. And let's turn our attention to UL. Raymond Calais, running back from Cecilia.
Part of a 3-headed monster. They had running back.
Elijah Mitchell, who's coming back, will be a pro. Regas from Shaw's coming back. All three. I told me and you've covered them, and I've watched all three, but it's hard to believe if you're not a Cajun fan, but I'm helping the Cajuns today. It's legit. 3 running backs while playing NFL. One, Raymond Calais, who didn't get as much carries as Mitchell and Regas.
Yep.
But he's the most athletic.
Yeah, he was more involved with the return game and just trying to get him the ball outside because of the speed.
Raymond Calais is a guy kind of in between in size, but he can do kickoffs, punt returns. He could be a slot receiver. He kind of built like Kamara with the Saints, kind of like 200, 195, 5'10"-ish.
Right.
4.45 though. Calais will make a team. He's got to go to the right team though. Robert Hunt, all-conference offensive lineman from UL. Big guy, 6'5", can move, strong, mauler. He'll be a top 3-4 round guy. I don't know if he'll go first, second round, but you could see Robert going 3rd, 4th round. He might go before Cushenberry or kind of in that same round as Cushenberry from LSU.
It kind of surprised Kevin Dotson didn't get invited.
Yeah, I mean, he's still probably get drafted.
Yeah.
He's runs like a 5 flat. He didn't get to show it at the combine. Mm-hmm. And Dotson's pushing 6'4", 315, can move. Yeah, UL's going to have 2 O-linemen drafted, which is really big, 1 year. I love Amik Robertson from Louisiana Tech, from Thibodeau High School. He's not very big. Neither's Tyrann Mathieu. Amik is 5'8", probably 175, but he will just shut you down.
He's a ball hawk for sure.
He reminds me of a shorter version of Tre'Davious White, a couple inches shorter. He will make an NFL team. I don't even know if he's going to get drafted, but he'll be a great free agent. Like, they'll be calling him, Jace. If he's not drafted, he'll be one of the first 20 if he doesn't get drafted. L'Jarius Sneed is somebody we covered at Menden. I think he could be a nickel corner, strong safety. Louisiana Tech, he's 6'1", about 195. He's got a chance to get drafted 5th, 6th round, 4th round.
They're very strong in the secondary this past year, and they needed it because I know they lost Ferguson and some guys up front.
Sneed's a baller, too. Tulane's got Keys at DB. Sleeper going in, can run, made some big plays over his career. Darnell Mooney from Tulane has a lot of ability.
Yeah, he was their main guy in the passing game.
I went to practice this year, and Darnell is as smooth as anybody you'll see. He's about 5'11", 180, and he will make a great – now, I don't know if he gets drafted because it's such a deep wide receiver core, and he's 5'11", but, man, he'll make a great starter, and they'll go, where did Darnell Mooney come from?
Yeah, he'd be one of those guys, those late-round guys that might have a long career in the NFL.
And they also have a running back at Tulane that's not on this list that you gave me that's about 6'2", 225, that's a senior.
Yeah, those were the ones invited to the combine.
Yeah. That didn't get the invite.
Right.
Who's probably the best player on Tulane's team. We'll throw the name out in a minute, but he's a senior, big guy. Missed most of his senior season with an injury. And then you got Shaquem Carter from Kentwood, Alabama. Cameron Dantzler has gotten some first-round grades from Mississippi State, a corner who went to St. Thomas, Aquinas, and Hammond. Was a quarterback at St. Thomas. I think Cameron will be a great player. I don't know if he'll go in the first round, but he'll be a great player in the NFL. Stephen Guidry, who played, started at Point Capee Central and then it finished at Livonia. A great wideout from Mississippi State, was committed to LSU at one time. Stephen Guidry will be a starter in the NFL.
You're talking about Corey Dauphine?
Corey, no, not.
Okay, the other one. So that's Bradwell, right? Darius Bradwell?
Darius Bradwell's a man.
Yeah, that's okay. I
mean, we're talking 6'1", 230 at Tulane. Missed a lot of this year, senior. He's going to be in NFL. And also, the one that you just said is a senior going to be in NFL. Tulane's got 2 running
they
backs.
had some running backs this year.
And then continuing on, I love Daquan Harris. They call Scooter from Arkansas. Went to John Ehret. Played with Michael Divinity.
Yeah, he was part of that team that went to the state championship. They fell just short because they had Keelan Brown and Zachary. Yeah.
And guess who was the quarterback? DeJean.
Yeah.
DeJean was the quarterback against Zachary. He ends up going to Arkansas, leading Arkansas in tackles 3 years in a row with 350-plus tackles.
Yeah, just he didn't get a lot of hype, notoriety because of Arkansas was down the last 3 years, but he was one of the best players in the SEC.
LSU didn't offer him. I love this kid. Can you imagine if he would have been in this group at LSU?
I can't imagine how well it would be.
Kalaji Litscomb, who went to Jesuit. I loved him at Jesuit. Vanderbilt had a great career. Actually had a big game against LSU this year that was lopsided, but he had a big game.
Right.
Lipscomb's 5'11", about 190. He can run. And he's got good hands. I think he'll start in the NFL. He might not go in the first 4 rounds, but he'll make it in the league.
That's another guy that was very underrated in the SEC.
Very much. Shea Patterson is going to be, I don't know what they're going to do with Shea. Shea's had, at Ole Miss, he almost was a Heisman Trophy candidate. At Ole Miss, he was phenomenal, had a couple of good games, and then he goes to Michigan. He didn't really have a good year. And his height kind of bothered him, I think. He didn't use his height very well. He didn't run it. He used his feet. I don't know if he was hurt. Just didn't have a good couple of years at Michigan.
Yeah, it just only wasn't the right fit or something. It was weird.
Shea Patterson might flourish in the NFL. I don't know if he gets drafted.
He might be one of those long-time journey backup quarterbacks I might start here.
Then again, Jace might be a free agent, get with a team, and be a star. Maybe the Michigan offense with Harbaugh wasn't right for him. Malcolm Roach from Madison Prep. His dad, Mike Roach, a great high school coach for many years. I thought he was LSU good. LSU didn't offer him. He went to Texas, had a good game against LSU, 6'2", about 280, DN. Malcolm is a big-time player. He's all out, smart. He's got a twitch to him. He would fit a Pittsburgh Steelers kind of defense, Houston Texans, Baltimore Ravens, the 4-3. He's very, very, very flexible for a guy almost 290. He was a 240 guy in high school. Remember, he ran running back. He was a defensive end. He was a linebacker. He was a punter.
Everything for the Chargers.
I love Malcolm Roach. He's a great human being and will have a great NFL career for someone. I don't know. I think in the middle of the draft, 5th round, 4th round, be a steal.
Yeah.
That's all with our combine talk in the NFL for this week.
And just before we wrap up, 29 players overall. How about 16 players from one school from LSU being invited?
Should have been 17.
Yeah, should have been 17. And
Fajuco should have been 17.
Right. And we were talking about the other week about the per capita with all the coming from each. That just shows you a backup right there to all the noise because there's 29 players being invited from one state. We're representing one state. And 16, that's a record as well. That's just incredible.
Well, Braden Fajuco from Hawaii could have broke the bench press record for reps, and he won't get a chance to do it. I mean, here's a guy that could do 225 probably 30-something times, maybe 40 times.
And a guy like Stephon Sullivan, too, that, he
went, though.
He went to the combine, but he didn't really have much targets or anything in LSU, but it's just his potential.
Stephon's raw from Donaldsonville High School. If I'm a GM, I'm thinking round 5. But hey, I mean, here's a guy that didn't even start.
He's got the most upside out of anybody.
It's just the question
measures.
what Stephon is blocking, because he's not going to be a wide receiver in the NFL. I don't think he's going to have to be a tight end. So you got to block, and
unless he wants to be that Jimmy Graham type of tight end,
he's got to work on the flex. But hey, he runs a 4.6 at 6'5", 250.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely going to be a guy that go, okay, we're going to use this 5th round pick on him and see if he makes it. If he makes it, he's going to be a great 5th round pick.
If not, he could be a star in the XFL.
That's right. Or Canada.
Right.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Make sure to check out our website at lafootballmagazine.com for all the latest recruiting information statewide. This week, check out all of our recruiting interviews with all the latest prospects and coaches. Also, make sure to check out our website to stay up to date with our TV show each week. That website again is lafootballmagazine.com. On the rebound, our basketball segment.
Yeah, this week in the NBA, we're going to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. What a team they have, Jace. One of the best players in the game. I just call him the Greek superstar. I can't pronounce his name.
Giannis, I can't pronounce the last name. I can get the first name, but not the second one.
The Greek hero, man. This guy's incredible. 6'10", 7.5 foot wingspan. He's really like a 7'5" center that plays like he's 6 foot tall. What's really crazy, he doesn't shoot free throws really well, but he can shoot mid-range jump shots really well. Yeah, I've always wondered, I guess just sitting still and farm, but when he's got a guy in his face at 6'8", he shoots over him, and he's very good at mid-range, and he doesn't really have to shoot shots. Just when he runs, he just dunks over everybody. I mean,
he's got some of the longest arms that you'll ever see.
And I think Giannis goes over the goal. You see him, and he doesn't even try, but he's a foot over everybody when he goes up.
Yep.
And he's unstoppable, and it'd be really scary if they ever get a second superstar to go with him. I think that's the only thing they lack. But I'm really pulling for the Bucks to win the championship. I know I'm a Lakers fan.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if the Pelicans can get in the playoffs,
they're going to be dangerous.
I would not want to play the Pelicans. They have 5 legitimate, I think, all-star players, 3 underrated players. Williamson is going to be incredible. He's not even halfway where he's going to be, but just the ability that he shows, he's a foot over everybody else when he jumps. But for a guy 6'6.5", it's amazing how high he can get.
And he's a big boy now. He's not just, he's like 270 pounds.
No, 285.
280, yeah, like he's a big boy.
Yeah,
so
he was
for
about
him to jump like that.
Yeah, he was about 330 or 320 before he got back into shape. But 285 is unheard of. I mean, I remember when Charles Barkley played for the 76ers.
Mm-hmm.
Charles was 6'5", about 300 on a good day. And in Auburn, when he played for Auburn, he was like 380. They called him the mound to rebound. And Charles Barkley, he's the closest thing, and he's way better than Charles. And Barkley's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But he reminds me of Barkley because of his big body, but he's so aggressive too. I mean, when he goes up for a rebound, he jumps over 7-foot guys like they're 6 foot tall. But he's going to be the next LeBron. I think he's a different kind of player, but he's going to be the name of the NBA, the face of the NBA, I think, in a couple of years. And, besides Giannis with Milwaukee, obviously.
Yeah.
But, if the Pelicans can get in the playoffs, they're the most dangerous team in the NBA right now. I'm not just saying that because they're in New Orleans, Louisiana, but they are so dangerous, and they have so much ability to shoot the three, to rebound.
Yeah, I know the Lakers don't want to see them in the first round of the playoffs.
No. And I think they made a statement the other day when the Lakers beat them at L.A. is because you could see how hard LeBron was playing, and he was finishing and dunking on them in transition, showing them, hey, I'm still the guy. LeBron is amazing.
He's got plenty of years left.
The most conditioned 35-year-old basketball player I've ever seen. Dr. J at 35 lost a step. Michael Jordan lost a step. He hasn't lost anything. Turning our attention to LSU basketball, Jace, they had a big win a few days ago.
South Carolina.
And South Carolina's well coached, and they're hard to beat at home. And, South Carolina was in the Final Four
just
a
couple years ago. Yep.
And they have a good team, and they're dangerous. Like every team in the SEC is dangerous. Like even Missouri. Missouri beat Auburn at home.
They came close to being LSU on the road.
Kentucky's got their best team, I think, in a long time because of the 3 guards, Quickly, Hagans, and also
quick.
Maxey.
They are quick.
Maxey, Hagans, and Quickly are unguardable. And then they've got the 7-footer down low who's really 6'10", but he's 7 feet in length. So
LSU had a problem with their length.
And LSU only lost by 5 or 3 or whatever it was late. They were losing by 10, but I mean,
it pushed towards the end to kind of make it closer. But
I think Kentucky's a Final Four team. I think LSU could be a Sweet 16 team with a little help. You know, it'd be tough, but they could do it again. But I think Kentucky's one of those.
We talked about it. I mean, there's no dominant team out there in basketball, college basketball.
No, Duke is not the same, even though they've got some one-and-dones. They're just not the same one-and-dones, and that's, you know, Williamson, you can't replace a Michael Jordan, Williamson, LeBron James. I mean, Williamson's probably the best college basketball player to come out since Michael Jordan and LeBron. Well, LeBron didn't even go to college.
No, he didn't go to college.
He
Kobe
came right out of Cleveland.
College. Yeah.
You know, but Williamson's probably the best in 30 years to come out of college.
Yeah, I know Kevin Durant was a big-time player coming out of Texas.
He was okay. I mean, you know, he was known as a 6'10" three-point shooter at Texas.
Yep.
From Maryland, but he didn't have the impact that Williamson had. And you know, I'm talking about the full game, Jace.
Mm-hmm.
But as a three-point shooter, man, the Golden State really misses him this year. And not just him, but the best guard in the NBA who's been out the whole year for Golden State, and their best six-man's been out all year. I mean, Golden State went from being the most dominant program in NBA to just
worst team right now, record-wise.
It's really weird that San Antonio's not even on the Richter scale right now, or Golden State, and it's good to see new teams. Toronto's doing well still. I'm really shocked.
Yeah,
they lost their star player to
Wyatt Leonard.
Yeah, with the Clippers. I don't know. I just don't think the Clippers can win it. They don't look like they have that continuity as a team.
I tell you what, though. I mean, with Kawhi Leonard, I mean,
you're never out of anything.
Yeah, you're now of everything with that dude.
But the NBA, Jace, has changed so much. In the 70s and 80s, 90s, early 2000s, it was a big man league. It was a, milk clock, go down low, go to the Shaquille O'Neals of the world, and you make a basket. Now it's three-point shooting, it's run the court, it's fast, and there's just so much talent. We're not even talking about the Rockets that are so great at, running, but they don't have any size, but
the backcourt's as good as it gets when you have James Harden and Russell Westbrook.
But the talent in this league is just sick. From an athletic standpoint, and growing up, me watching NBA in the 70s and 80s and 90s, man, if you're 7 feet tall and you can't run, you can't play in the league. So really the big man's really not really important as it used to be. And you got a lot of 6'10" guys now that centers. Used to have a bunch of 7-footers that are just post-up guys.
Right.
It's a different league. If you can't shoot the three, you're probably not going to get the championship game. But if you can't defend with some length, now it's all about long arms.
Yeah, because if you look at Milwaukee, you got with the Greek Freak and Lopez too. They got some big guys as well in their first place in the East. So
Lopez is hung on. He's Stanford, coached by who? Trent Johnson.
Yeah,
that's
familiar name around here.
The Lopez brothers. I think the Lopez brothers got him the job at LSU. Don't you?
Yeah, that's definitely a good part of it.
Ever since the Lopez brothers left Stanford, you don't even see them on TV anymore.
No,
I mean they only put Pac-12 TV games are now Oregon, USC,
probably
UCLA,
Arizona,
Washington, and if you're not one of those, You're Gonzaga on all the time. They'd rather have Gonzaga, who's not even in a major conference, on TV. It's amazing how teams have fallen off with TV coverage. I mean, Stanford used to be on all the time. And in football, they're on a little bit. I mean, Andrew Luck was probably the last good teams they had. I grew up a John Elway fan. He played at Stanford. Jim Plunkett.
He's
a great quarterback there.
He won the Heisman Trophy.
Guy named James Lofton played wide receiver at Stanford.
Buffalo Bills receiver.
Hey, man, not bad for the guy that wasn't even born yet before those guys. But, they had some great players. And, just basketball, it's just that's why LSU still has a chance. There's a lot of good basketball at LSU, and I think Will Wade's doing a really good job to end the talk about LSU. I just think if they had a center, I don't care, if they had another 6'9", I don't even think Watford's 6'9". I think he's like 6'7.5".
Yeah.
And he's their best big guy. And it's amazing what LSU's been able to accomplish with a 6'7" and a 6'6" center in Emmett Williams. They have no size at all.
Will Wade said our goal this whole time is to make the NCAA tournament, and it seems like what's going to happen.
And if they didn't have all these clouds on the program last year, Jace, they signed a couple of bigs, and they have another point guard signed that's a true point guard. It hurt the recruiting. Let's just face it. Nobody wants to talk about it, but it is what it is. So, and what he's done, not having the big guys and not having a true point guard and having Javonte Smart play point, I mean, they had a chance to win 23 games before the SEC tournament. I mean, that's amazing. They have a chance to be a 25-win team. I'm going by maybe a SEC tournament win, one, and maybe one NCAA tournament win.
Yep.
They got a chance to win 25 games.
And it's crazy because you can also look at the other side, saying that they won a lot of games by 2-3 points. They could have gone the other way, and maybe try to make the NIT. So it's just incredible how one way can go. But they were able to close out some tough games. Yeah,
so that's our NBA talk and LSU basketball talk for this week.
Sure, and moving on to the coaching carousel, and this has been a busy week on the carousel.
Yeah, I mean, there's some hires sometimes that you just don't really want to talk about. Maybe it's a D3 school, and it's like, okay.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it toward the school, but I'm just saying it's just not something that people want to talk about. But I think Colorado is a sleeping giant. And when I was growing up, Jace, you were a little bit younger, but when I was growing up, Coach McCartney was a legend.
Yeah.
And he had DiNardo on his staff. He had Les Miles was on his staff.
Right.
He had Bieniemy was his running back, who's now the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs.
Yep.
Salinasi, who's the late Salinasi, was a great quarterback. They had talent
Cordell
everywhere.
Stewart.
And Jace, they came to Louisiana and took whoever they wanted. That's when LSU was down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was about 10 Louisiana players starting for Colorado in the 90s, Cordell Stewart being the big name, that were phenomenal players. So they were getting players from California, Louisiana, Texas. Cavanius McGee was an All-American from Houston. They just signed, and now the program was kind of basically dead for 12, 15 years. McCartney retired young because he was a preacher and started churches and got out. Great guy. And now I think they're slowly coming back. They're not the old Colorado yet.
No, but they kind of made a couple bowl games. They're relevant.
But hiring Carl Durrell is what we're getting to. He was the last coach from UCLA fired that actually had a winning record at UCLA. Yep. UCLA's been down for a while. And think about this. He won 70% of his games at UCLA and was fired. They would have kept him in the last 10 years if it was based on that. They were so spoiled. They had great coaches after great coaches. Rick Neuheisel did a good job. And then, Carl Durrell is really a great hire, and he knows California. So what does Colorado do? They recruit a lot of California kids, and Carl can recruit the South. I think they're going to be doing great. And here's another thing to think about. Every year, Colorado, the state, they're not deep on talent, but they produce 10 to 12 NFL O-linemen. And they keep losing most of those guys. If they can just keep these O-linemen in state and the tight ends. LSU took one of their tight ends this year.
Yeah.
If they can keep the tight ends and the O-linemen and go to California and get the skill guys, like the late Heisman Trophy winner, Rashawn Salim was a California kid.
Yep.
Darian Hagan was a California kid, quarterback that was All-American for Colorado. If they can get back into California's wide open right now.
Yeah, that's what I was about to point out because USC's down.
UCLA. The Arizona schools are not doing great. Oregon's kind of Oregon.
Right.
But Washington is really the only team winning, and Oregon. They're not really grabbing too many California kids. But Colorado can put their footprint back in California, and they can go back to getting these great players and keeping the local players home. Carl Durrell might end up taking this team to another level. And look, they're a Power 5 school, and I know people might laugh at me, but it wasn't long ago when McCartney took over the program, and they were a laughingstock school then. And then they were a national championship team.
In the early 90s.
In the early
powerhouse. 90s. Yeah.
If McCartney doesn't step aside and still coaches there, no telling how many championships they would have won in football. But, you know, that's, again, it's a sleeping giant. Even Colorado State's got a good little program.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to see what Carl Durrell's going to do. You know, he's coached everywhere. He's been in, Washington Redskins, Denver Broncos, Miami Dolphins, Houston Texans. He was at Vanderbilt as offensive coordinator. Miami Dolphins again. He was with the Jets. And as a head coach, he was 35-27. That's not really bad. Not all of those were losses at Colorado. At UCLA,
Right.
And so to move on about the coaching carousel, Chris Truax was hired, a friend of mine.
Was on their show this year.
Yeah, man. Former offensive lineman from Richardson, Texas. Daddy Billy Truax played for LSU and the Rams. Chris goes back home to McNeese, where he coached prior years ago. Great hire, I think, for Frank Wilson.
Yep.
Chris can recruit Texas. He was at Stephen F. Austin for a few years. Chris played O-line. He knows the game. He's got the experience. He's got 20 years of coaching experience. Really, I think it's Frank's best hire. I really do. Kevin Falk, I think I saw this coming about 3 months ago.
Yeah, well, I'm sure a lot of people saw this coming.
Kevin just need to learn how to coach in college. I know it's crazy. He's got 3 Super Bowl rings.
An all-time leading rusher at LSU. Yeah.
But here's a guy that only had high school coaching experience. Now, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend.
Mm-hmm.
But he graduated, too, in 3 years. Not a lot of people know that.
Yep.
But he learned with Ed Orgeron, he learned for 3 years how this works daily. Look, college football is a different deal. And he's been able to learn that, and I think it's an upgrade. I think he's going to do a better job. Tommy Robinson was a good coach, but Kevin's from Louisiana, and he can sign kids anywhere in the state. Now he knows how to coach, and he's ready to take over the running back position. And now he has Ty Davis, and now he has
John
Emery.
Yep.
He's got Bradford that they just signed out of Texas, who's going to be a great player. Chris Curry.
Yep.
So he's got a great bunch to build with. And then Kevin, even though he didn't recruit off campus, they met him on visits, and that was important. So he kind of helped close the deal.
And it's Kevin's fault, too. So having him show up and just recruiting, the name alone, Kevin Falk's going to get.
And I don't think Kevin will ever go to the NFL because he's a home guy. He loves Louisiana. He still lives in Carencro, and he still commutes.
Oh, he bleeds purple and gold.
And so I think after a couple of years at LSU, you know who's going to be calling him? The NFL.
Yep.
So LSU's just going to have to give him some raises over the next 3-4. But I think he could be here for the next 20 years. And then Scott Cochran is the big news of the week, leaving Alabama.
Yeah.
Strength coach that started at LSU under Tommy Moffitt. Scott Cochran was a disciple of Gail Hatch. Gail Hatch, I think, produced everybody.
Yeah, it seemed like they come all under the same tree.
Scott Cochran, was he important in Alabama? Yes. How important? Outside of Burton Burns, he was second, I think, in command on friendship and trust, and he motivated that team. And when you look at Alabama, what do LSU fans say every year? Why are they always motivated? Scott Cochran. It wasn't just Saban.
Yep.
Scott's the guy that got them strong. Because let's think about it.
What's been LSU's issue with Alabama the last couple of years?
And what are the LSU fans were saying when they were beating LSU? They look different physically. It's not just recruiting, it's development. And Alabama just lost the best strength coach in the United States. You can't replace him.
Yeah,
and
it's a tough loss.
Scott, I guess you can go anywhere and sign a great strength coach, but he's from the South. He was the best. And I guess he wants to be a coach, but it's kind of crazy he wasn't named a coach at Alabama to keep him.
It's kind of weird. And then he lost him to Kirby, correct, at Georgia?
Well, they're friends. Kirby was at Alabama.
Yeah, I just found that was kind of
awkward,
a little weird there.
I wonder if this is a sign that maybe Scott wants to leave and get in front of Nick Saban instead of behind him if he retires. Because you're not maybe kept by the new coach.
Yeah, got a point. Maybe he's thinking ahead. We don't really know what's going on.
But is it a loss? Yes. If I'm an Alabama fan, I am crushed.
He's a huge part why they're able to win so many championships. And LSU's had problems with them the last 8 years or so, and the big reason was because of Scott Cochran.
Turning to the high school coaching carousel, which is always a coaching carousel in Louisiana and all over the country. Chris Towery, a friend of mine, is back in Louisiana. Chris used to be an assistant coach at Central High School years ago. Did a good job as an offensive coordinator. He used to be the head coach at Abbeville High School. Left at Texas Junior College. Now he's the new coach at Sulphur in Lake Charles. I think Chris is a great hire. And Jace, he's an offensive genius, and he's a quarterback developer. And I think he's going to do great. Sulphur's got some good talent coming back. And then also, Emmanuel Powell is the new head coach at Helen Cox. He's going to stay on the West Bank.
Yep.
He was the head coach in Algiers for a long time at O.P. Walker, which was Landry Walker.
Yep.
And, he did a great job at Landry Walker.
Yeah, he won the state championship for him with Keaton Thompson. So he had some success at Landry
It's going to be a challenge to compete at Helen Cox right away. But he can do it. I mean, kids love him. And he built Landry Walker. He kept it going when Frank Wilson left.
Yeah.
And also, the former Helen Cox coach was also a head coach at O.P. Walker. And it's going to be interesting to see where Coach ends up. That coaching tree on the West Bank, it just seems like they don't leave the West Bank. They just go to other schools. That is a very challenging area, Jace, because Edna Carr is on top of the world in Algiers.
Right.
And they can get anybody on the West Bank to enroll. Everybody wants to go play at Edna Carr. And then you got Landry Walker that's a little down. Helen Cox has got some talent, but they're down right now. And then you got John Ehret, who is very talented on the West Bank. And then Shaw's coming up. They're young, but I think Tommy Connors is doing a good job there. And then down the road a little bit, you get into Plaquemine Parish, you got a good team. You got Bell Chase that's got a good program, Coach Myers.
Yep. And
then the other team on the West Bank has got, I think it's Sleeping Giant and Higgins. Higgins has talent. Skylar Green was there at one time. They were really good.
Yeah, McDonald 35's in their school around that
McDonald
area.
35's in New Orleans, though.
Right, it's in New Orleans, but they get a lot of players.
But, it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Powell does, and I think his name is going to attract a lot of parents wanting their kids to go there. And, I wouldn't be surprised if he takes them to the playoffs in his first year, even though they're young.
With this system, too, I know a lot of teams make the playoffs already, but, I think they could have a really good program. There's been talent at Helen Cox. They had a couple D1 guys this year.
Yeah, they had the best defensive backfield, I think, in New Orleans. They had 4 D1 DBs.
Yep.
One signed with McNeese, was committed to UT San Antonio with Frank. And Frank takes the McNeese job. Johnson, the safety, was big time, 6'3", 190. Yeah. And the other corner, I think, is D1. He might go to JC, I think. And then they had a 4th DB that was D1. That's not every day you got 4 D1 DBs. Well, at Edna Carr you do.
Right, and then the linebacker was pretty good as well.
Yeah. The linebacker, I think you can play SEC ball. And also, I think he was committed to UT San Antonio as well.
He was committed at one point, UTSA.
Yeah. 5'11", about 220. Really good player.
Keelan
Burrell.
Yep.
The best-looking 5'11" linebacker in the state, I thought, the last 2 years. But that is going to do it for our coaching carousel.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen. Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brecheen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, Girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brecheen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and get connected today.
It's time for Lee's mailbag.
Yeah, Jace, questions we want to tell anybody listening that is driving, or maybe you're on your computer at home or you're on your cell phone at home. A lot of you are driving. Please pay attention to the road. Write into us. Email us about any questions you might have. If you don't want to give your full name out, just give us your first name, what town you're from or city. And we'd love to answer your questions. We get 2 or 3 of these every week, and we love to interact with fans, So, and also write to us on anything you would like improved or something that we might can start talking about in the future. And, Jace, we got 2 or 3 this week, right?
Correct. So a couple fans wrote in. First of all, John from Lafayette. He wants to know, Lafayette Christian, they've won the last 3 state championships. Can they four-peat this upcoming football season?
Yes, I think they will win it again, barring no football in Louisiana. This team is on fire. We need to get the founder on, the pastor of the church for Lafayette Christian on soon to tell his story. I mean, they came from nothing, Jace, Lafayette Christian, like nothing. They had one building, a little gym on a street right next to a subdivision off a service road where they still are, but now they built this school up into it looks like a college now. But everybody forgets the start of the school when there's no wins, when it's down and it's just from the bottom. And I respect what they're doing. And there's a lot of envy there, when you start beating everybody and everybody wants to go there, then everybody, hey, I like a winner that started from the bottom. And they are not even hitting the top of their stride yet. I mean, they've got their best team coming back next year, and they lost a lot of talent, but they're so good now, and they have so many kids in the program that now they're having these 25, 30-man senior classes. And when you have that, you're just replacing numbers and names. And their best player is Trent Falk's nephew.
Yep, Sage Ryan.
And he's the real deal. He's the best hitter. He hits like Ronnie Lott. This guy is just incredible, instinctive. True 5'10". I don't care what he's right. 5'10", 180. Perfect strong safety, nickel corner. Reminds me of Kerry Vincent, but more talented and tougher.
He can make plays in return game as well. He can return kicks and punts.
But for college, if you need a guy that can just really hit somebody, form tackle, make a play, he reminds me of the Honey Badger a little bit because he hits so hard. He creates fumbles. Mm-hmm. He's very bally. He balls, and he can do it all.
Great instincts, yeah.
And I met Sage when he was an 8th grader. And Trev told me at the school, he's like, my nephew is going to be the real deal. Now, they all say that, but I'm like, Trev, come on.
Yeah, it's his nephew, right.
But it came to fruition. Sage is going to go to LSU. Now, he might take some huge visits because everybody wants him. And he's rare. He's a rare 5'10" guy. Again, he's like a Tyrann Mathieu. He's just he's everywhere. And he plays offense for the team.
He does a little bit of everything for him.
And they're going to be the biggest they've ever been in 220. On their OD line is going to be 300 pounds across. They're going to be deep at skilled positions again, even though they lost 5 all-state players.
Right.
They won't even be affected by it.
Yep.
I don't know who will beat them.
That's a good question. There's a good chance Sage could probably play some quarterback because it worked out with their best with Errol Rogers playing some quarterback. Yeah. They could probably put their best athlete up there and see what happens.
He'll probably might run for 1,000 yards, just taking the snap and going, kind of like Butte at Westgate.
Yeah.
But yet they got a better O-line than Westgate. Mm-hmm. So, Notre Dame plays in their district now. You don't ever see Notre Dame lose a regular season game.
And they did
They lost to Lafayette Christian.
Yep.
Or they lose to Catholic New Iberia. Those are the 2 tough teams. But, like I said, this team might win 7 in a row if they keep going like this.
True. And moving on to the next question, Sydney from Baton Rouge, he wants to know, what do you think the future really looks like at quarterback for LSU?
Well, Miles Brennan, we're going to see what he has before the spring game. And people say, what do you mean by before the spring game? Because spring game is for fans, and they don't show anything. Before the spring game, the coaches are going to know. Meaning they're going to have a month to go through practices. They're going to see if he's the guy, not just physically, but mentally,
right.
Leadership. Is he ready to be the guy? And look, to be the guy, you got to be the dude. And I don't know. Hey, let's just be honest. I don't know. I think he's got the arm, and I think he's waited his turn and all that good stuff. But we're going to see what he can do. And again, before the spring game. Now, fans usually look at a quarterback and go, well, he had a bad spring game. Spring game,
it doesn't mean anything.
They don't show anything.
Right. Very vanilla.
Teams like half walk-ons, half lettermen split up. It's different. You can have an MVP spring game and never play in the regular season. I hope that Miles Brennan is the dude. And if he's not after the spring, then they're going to get a graduate transfer.
If they go out and get a graduate transfer, that should be kind of your answer for right on the wall pretty much.
But let's talk the truth, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I hope he's the guy. What about the other quarterbacks? Well, TJ Finley, I think, is a red shirt. He can throw it 90 yards.
There's no question about his arm strength.
His arm, he can throw from goalpost to goalpost on a knee. He needs to work on the rest of his game. All right?
Yep. Will
he ever get there? I don't know. Max Johnson just needs to mature and physically get better, and he needs a little more time, but he's more ready. He just doesn't have the arm of TJ Finley's.
Right.
He's 6'5". He's got the pedigree. The dad was a quarterback in the NFL. Brad Johnson with the Buccaneers, all that good stuff. Peter Parrish, who redshirted from Alabama, he's not there yet. I don't want to say he's a bust, but we're going to find out what Peter has, because when spring's over, this is second spring.
Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer for players.
But he struggled as a freshman. He was not very good as a freshman. But that's, sometimes that happens. Like you said, it takes a year or two. But I'm going to hold judgment on Peter Parrish. But he needs to go night and day this spring. If not, he could leave, because Max Johnson and TJ are more physically ready than Peter.
And you got like the quarterback classes coming up. So.
And then you got, and it all depends on Max Johnson. Is he going to be the dude? Or is TJ going to be the guy in 2 years? Is he going to work on the rest of his game, his feet, all that other stuff? I don't know. But that's why they sign 2 quarterbacks every year. Now, Les only signed 1.
Yeah.
And it would get LSU in trouble because they didn't. And Nick Saban would sign 2, knowing that every 2 years, 3 of the 4 would leave.
Yep.
But he'd always have one good quarterback.
Yep. That's why it's good to sign at least 1 every single year.
Yeah. Because every 3 years, one of these guys will make it and the other 2 won't. And, everybody goes their way, So Miles Brennan has the stuff, though. It's just he's got to show it, prove it, and do it. And now that it's his team, here's an example. If Miles Brennan is in spring practice, close practice, I'm talking about media leaves after team, right?
Right.
So none of the media sees team. Mm-hmm. They just see warm-ups and individuals.
Yep.
But if he's the dude to get in the team, meaning first O, first D, run a draw. Mm-hmm. Can he run 3rd and 3 in a situation with referees at the practice? Can he get the first down?
And I think what one
simple things like that.
Yeah, but one the respect of Joe is because he's tough. Like, he's not going to slide. He's going to take a hit for the team. And I think taking those type of hits early on really won the team over. So you just got to just show the team that you are the guy.
And if you can't run, you can't really evolve in this offense. You don't have to be a 4.5 40 in this offense. Joe Burrow was a 4.7, but he looked 4.6, 4.5. But Brennan has got to be able to run when needed and pick up the first down on 3rd, 2, and 3 when needed. I don't think he's going to be Burrow and run for 20, 30-yard runs. But again, to his credit, we haven't seen him do it yet. Did he even go on a game last year where he had to do a draw or run?
No, not design. There might be like a play or two. He just ran out of bounds because nobody was open.
So, yeah, I mean, we didn't even get to see if he could do it or not. Right. And that's the part I would like to see is, can he do that?
But the quick release and his arm strength, I mean, all of that is, I mean, he's got potential in this offense.
Yeah, and he's got the receivers. I mean, who would want to have Jamar Chase to inherit? I mean,
you got Jamar Chase,
Biletnikoff
and
winner,
Marshall, and you got Eric Gilbert,
Palmer.
Right, Palmer.
How about J. Ray Jenkins been waiting his turn?
Yep.
And don't forget about Racing McMath.
And they signed a couple of talented ones from Rummel and
Corey Moore,
and they signed Butte as well.
Kashawn Butte. I think Kashawn Butte will return kicks or punts, even though you don't see a lot of kick returns anymore. Corey Moore would be a great punt returner because you keep all these guys happy. Even Trey Palmer. You ever remember this many talented skill guys to audition for punt returns?
I can't. I don't remember a year.
Stingley doesn't have to do that anymore. So if Stingley wants to play a little wide out, then take him off the punt team, let him play a little wide out, a little corner. I don't even think they need Stingley at wide out.
They do not. Like in years past, like you maybe with like Patrick Pearson on offense, this is not the same type with the receiver depth which he's got this year already. They don't need to run all those kind of gadget plays.
Don't get him hurt. Too important on defense.
Right. I mean, yeah, he takes like a whole half of the field away. So, all right, and the last question, in case a lot of people didn't know, there was a tragedy this past week. Aaron from Hammond, and this is about Terra High School senior Terry Delaney, who was shot tragically over the weekend. And yes, due to the tragic death of Terry Delaney, what kind of player you think he would have been for the Southeastern Lions? Because he did sign with Southeastern before what happened.
Well, first of all, our condolences to Terry Delaney's family. Coach Terry Washington, who was like a father to him with Terra High School. Terry Delaney, you interviewed him during his past season.
I got a chance to talk to him. He's a good kid.
Great kid and high-effort kid. And he was 6'2", 290, 285. He could run, and he was very, again, high effort. He gave it all he had, and he got a scholarship because he was such a high effort guy for a lineman, and he was a leader. He was the best player on the team, and he was going to Southeastern, and I thought he had NFL talent, Jace. And they didn't just lose an NFL talent; they lost a great human being, and
because I think he wanted to be like a doctor.
Yeah,
and to buy a house for his family. So he was a good kid.
And for those that don't know who he was a D tackle at Terry. He also played O-line because he had to play O and D line for them. And he was all a 6'2", 290. And again, he was a great football player. And he was determined, a high effort kid, good feet for a big guy. I think he would have started 2 or 3 years for Southeastern and been in the NFL. I really do. I thought he was an SEC kind of guy. I've always said that about Terry, and I'm just really, again, condolences to the Delaney family and also Coach Terry Washington at Terra High School and all the Terra community. I know your dad was a coach at Terra at one time, the head coach.
Yep.
I mean, it's just sad. I was really heartbroken when you actually told me the news earlier this week. Just really, really tough to hear anybody passing away, but this young man.
At such a young age,
yeah,
it's very tragic.
But our condolences to the family of Terry Delaney, and just tough to hear.
Bright star going too soon. Yep. And it was time to wrap up the show. It was a great show today as well. And first off, anything you want to talk to parents about consulting? Yeah,
this is the time of the show. At the end of the show, if you listened to the whole show and you didn't stop driving. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com. Jace writes articles, and we have our podcast on there as well as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google Play. We've got several different apps that carry the podcast and the podcast. If you're new, if you're just listening, starting to listen, it's called The Sports Scouting Report with Lee Brecheen.
Yeah, wherever you listen to your podcast, feel free to subscribe because it'll notify you when a new episode is being uploaded.
It's free to do that. You just got to click in the email. If you get an email from us or you just want to go on there, just go ahead and click the button. It's free. You don't pay any money to do that. And just, our TV show wrapped up the live season on Cox 4, which distributed all the way to Shreveport. Yep. On CW21, also in CBS in Lake Charles, ETEL in Gonzales, and also in Vision in Houma, Thibodaux. The replays will play back of all our guests. We have a lot of great guests this year.
Right.
Jace, that you helped us talk to a lot of these guests that came in all over the state. And we'll continue to bring big names on every week. Be sure to look for the magazine. If you want to pre-order a magazine for 220, the 25th year we're working on.
24th.
Yeah, I'm jumping a year. yeah, so 24 years. I'm delirious from working too much, but the 24 years.
I'm not good with numbers either, so that's why I'm working here.
Yeah. So, just go on our website, lafootballmagazine.com. You can pre-order a preview for 220. That'll go out in August. It's going to go out in August. We're going to work on it through June, July, actually right through the first part of July to go to the printer mid-July, and then we'll get it back late July to have out in August. But you can pre-order your magazine and do that. And then, if you need consulting and your mom and dad, your kid's going to be a senior, going to be a junior for football or even baseball, reach out to me, Brecheen at AOL.com. That's LBRECHEEN at AOL.com. Parents hire me to be honest to them about consulting, going through the summer, the spring, the fall, making a highlight tape the way the colleges want it, putting together the tape the way it should look, going through 50 hours of film, getting it out to every school, and also helping mom and dads through the way with the process. It can be very difficult, very stressful, very emotional, because everybody's kid is important, and you want to go through it the right way. And again, I always say this every week. The toughest part about having a kid or trying to help a parent with a kid is being honest about your upside at the moment.
Right. If
you're not honest about the upside, then it's hard to pick a route to go. Meaning if he's not D1 and he's 1AA, then you got to go that route. And then you might end up D1. And there's other angles because you can send a tape to a D1 school, but it might be for a walk-on opportunity, but not for a scholarship. But just, be very realistic, and I'm good at that.
Yep.
And I'm very honest to parents. If a kid's D3 and he's not D1, he's D3, and you can still walk on to a D1 school and be a D3 player. You have to have the grades. You got to have the high ACT and a good GPA and all the core. And, I'd go through all that with kids. I even help mom and dads over the phone about what you need to go D2, a 2.0 GPA and a 17. You can have a 16 if you have the right amount of core and
high enough GPA.
Right. D1 has different qualifications at different colleges, and also 1AA is about the same as D1 to get in. And D3, actually, you have to have a high ACT. You get better help if the higher your grades. And if you go to a private school, which is 1AA, D2, or D1, there might be some private fees. There's a lot to this.
Yep.
Meaning Harvard can say, hey, I'm going to give you a scholarship, Jace.
Mm-hmm.
Jace, you have a scholarship to play quarterback. And everybody's all pumped, And then a month later, they might say, well, you're not paying that $300,000 a year it costs, but you still have a $25,000 a year private fee to pay. But you get a scholarship.
Okay.
So it's tricky.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of sharing what it could be, So
it's much more than what meets the eye.
Yeah, everything's different, and you got to really study it, and you got to ask the right questions to these colleges, because every college, and look, private is different from public. It's like high school. Private schools, colleges have different requirements. And there's not a private school out there that doesn't have some kind of private fee to go to school there, even if you're on scholarship. It's a good opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have grades to go too. And then there's junior college. If you don't have the core or you don't have the test, I think junior college is a wonderful place for a kid to have a chance. They call it last chance you. But I really believe I've helped a lot of kids go junior colleges and prep schools. If you're a late bloomer to fill out, reach your potential, and you need another 6 months to a year, go to a prep school. If you're good enough, you got to audition. A lot of people don't realize that too.
Mm-hmm. Same
thing with junior colleges. There's a limited amount of out-of-state scholarships for Mississippi, Texas, and Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
It's under 10 a year. California is no limit. So I hope we educated somebody on something. At least two people might have been listening today. So, Jace, that's it. We're going to wrap it up. And again, write to us at lbrecheen@aol.com or our website, lafootballmagazine.com. write to me and Jace if you have any questions, and send in questions. We'd love to hear
we'll
from you.
get you all involved. That's kind of the part, this part of the show, the last part of the show, where we get the audience involved. So we would love to have your involvement. The more involvement, the better the show will be. So we would love for y'all to be a part of it.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.